when you think of Sita, she is, like Lakshmi, is just a further
Yeah.
expansion down, right? But like the goddess of good fortune, right? Lakshmi is a personification of good fortune. And it's, in other words, good fortune is there for us, available for us, right? If you
Oh, I
relate to
like
good
where you're going
fortune,
with this. I like
huh?
where you're going with
Okay,
this.
all right.
I
If
was
you were,
thinking deeply.
yeah, she is the energy of Lord Ram. She is the female potency of God that manifests as good fortune, right?
She's the divine feminine.
Everything auspicious about life can be found in her, and you can be blessed with that if you approach her,
For sure.
in the right mood.
Just be like we call money Lakshmi.
Yeah,
And
good
when we use
fortune, right?
money
Yeah.
for good things, like to serve God, to serve the Vaishnavas, it's a
It'll
good
bring
thing. It's an
auspiciousness
auspicious
into it.
thing.
Yeah.
If you take money, you can use money for such horrible things. I mean, we can all think of one thing in our mind, horrible things. Don't put it on the message board. But
Okay.
you can use money for horrible things, and it makes that same money inauspicious. And it creates inauspiciousness. Your choices create auspiciousness or inauspiciousness.
Right.
So here he is taking Mother Lakshmi, Sita Devi, Mother Sita, Lady Sita.
With such selfish purpose, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just all the, yeah, of course, the contrast is drawn in the Ramayana between how Ravana approaches the goddess of fortune and how
Hanumanji.
Hanuman approaches, Hanuman. Whereas one was taking for his selfish purposes, and the other was returning that energy back, right? When we see the material good fortune that we receive in life and we don't think, how can I exploit it? It's mine. It belongs to me. I don't even see who it came from or who it belongs to or whose energy it is. I see it only within the context of that is for my enjoyment. Then that brings in auspiciousness. Whereas if you're like, this is all God's energy, I'm also God's energy. Let me return this energy, make an offering of it back with love in my heart. That
Sure.
love itself is the greatest blessing, right? The greatest fortune.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator of the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha. Welcome to the show. It is Monday, April 21st, and this is episode number, who knows?
1560.
What? 1,560 episodes. We're back at Super Soul Farm. It's good to be back. We had one day of recovery, and we are diving right into this really fun tour, Mr. Kaustubha.
You're diving into a fun tour?
I said it was a really fun tour.
Was. Good, Raghunath. I'm glad you had a good time.
I met a lot of Zoomers, met a lot of hardcore devotees from around the world, actually.
We know that.
You know that?
Yeah. The last 4 shows you've done, you've gone into great detail about that. So
it's interesting.
It is interesting. It's just we can't start every show with that. But thank you. I'm glad that you met all those people. I'm happy for them that they met you.
Thank you. I'll just shut up now.
No, I just saw you launching into it again.
All right. Hey, by the way, it's Merch Monday. I didn't wear anything today, but check out this merch. Here's the dad hats. You seen these yet? Dad hats are not like trucker hats. They're a little less floppy, a little more floppy. Got a white and a pine green. And then these cool, really nice beanies.
Okay.
So if you're interested in some Wisdom of the Sages merch, go to our website, wisdomofthesages.com, or you can check out merchnow.com and search for Wisdom of the Sages. It's another way to get there. But beanies, trucker hats, and dad hats.
Okay.
Miss Mara, what's up?
What's up? You just stole my announcement.
Yeah.
Well,
you can help us promote the show by wearing your Wisdom of the Sages merch. Take a photo, share it on Facebook and Instagram, and tag us, and then we'll share it too.
Even if it's not Monday, you can do that.
You
That's
do that
true.
any day.
Yeah, any day, but especially on Monday we encourage
Okay.
Yeah. Me and Mara left our computers at the TSA security
Both
in
of you.
Brussels.
in Brussels.
They were together.
You know how they tell you, okay, take your computers out of the bag. We took them out of the bag, put them in the tray. And then when it came to leave, I took my backpack and not the computers. And our computers are in Brussels. So we're
Man.
moving a little slower today. It's going to take a while to get those back.
How are you adjusting in life without
Life without a computer?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're gonna find out.
Imagine if I'd lost my phone and my computer. I might as well just like dig a hole. There's nothing to scroll.
Why do you even have to take the computer out of the bag?
You
Say
never
it's
know.
like
You could have a
some-
machete in that computer.
At some airports, you don't have to. Like some of them, they're like, oh, you don't have to take anything out.
Well, I thought TSA pre-check. We don't have to take them out.
It depends on where you are in the world.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
I haven't figured it out.
hopefully it'll come back, Raghunath. Hopefully it'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, all good with you? Want to
Everything's
dive
good.
into the Pope died.
Well, there's big news this morning, right? The Pope
Pope
passed away
died like on Easter.
on Easter Monday.
These are like, auspicious days on the pagan calendar. One to leave your body.
It seems like it would be
I'm not sure Christ actually resurrected on that day, but there was some special day of it. It's connected to one of the pagan holidays, and the Christians put their holidays around these pagan holidays too.
What are you talking about?
You don't know that?
I don't know anything about that. But why are you talking about
Christ wasn't
pagan
born on Christmas, and he didn't resurrect on
Easter?
They just put that in there.
Are you sure?
Mara, ask
Mara worked on that.
ChatGPT.
Or she doesn't have a computer. Any case, it seems like Easter is obviously a big day, meditative day, for a serious Christian, and then to pass away the next morning is interesting. But honestly, I'm not like I can't say I know so much about him, and I can't say that I know so much about the Catholic Church and the Vatican and all that. Obviously,
The papacy.
there's a history of corruption and that kind of thing. But it seemed like, from what I took in, and from the way that he spoke, and apparently a lot of the way that he lived, he seemed like a special, man who's like really trying to bring in and kind of ushering in a mood within the Vatican or the papacy. Yeah, that was more. It seemed to be more truly Christ-like, and in that sense, more bhakti. More bhakti.
Yeah, a type of tolerance, a type of appreciation, a type of
Simplicity.
deep humility.
Yeah.
Sometimes, if you're a little higher on the,
Totem pole.
right? The spiritual totem pole. You're the Pope. You're a cardinal. You're a
That's the
monk.
top.
That's the top. And whenever you're at the top of anything, there's some ego that goes with it. So when you see someone who's in a very high position, yet they have a sort of, at least a public humility, I think there's something, but most likely internal thing as well. It's appreciated because you sort of set the standard for how we should act. There's like, Christ washed the feet of the disciples of, sort of setting the tone of how the disciples should act. So when you get a guru or a teacher or a leader who's setting the example of service and humility, that's a great example.
Yeah, and leaders that aren't out of touch with how they're being perceived and what their institution really needs. There are certain ways. I have a few examples here of ways that he was kind of trying to usher in that kind of awareness. He didn't live in the place where most popes lives, which is like the super opulent place, the apostolic palace. But
the apostolic palace. Wow.
It almost sounds like an oxymoron, right?
Yeah.
But he lived in a modest guest house called Casa Santa Marta, and he wore simpler clothes. As you mentioned, he on Holy Thursday, which I'd imagine was just like last Thursday, right?
Yeah. Holy Thursday is the day they bring him to the cross, I think.
Okay. So the tradition is that the popes would wash the feet of other priests on that day, but he didn't. He actually washed and kissed the feet of prisoners, of Muslims, of women, of people with disability. He kind of like wanted to take it further and kind of, even if it's symbolic, I think it's important in a certain way.
Didn't I kiss your feet last Thursday, Mary?
And then he he kind of just brought in ushered in a kind of a tone, as you mentioned, a tone of tolerance, a tone of like a certain tone of like less focused on judgment and more focused on like Christ's mood of compassion. And he pushed for reform. I can imagine, you want to talk about a powerful institution, like any little tiny institution, if you try to create a little reform in it, it can just bring back all kind of backlash, and it can be a struggle. And who can imagine what that's like in the Catholic Church? That's about as big and historic and powerful institution that's ever existed.
Yeah.
And to try to push for reform, to try to symbolize a shift in mood, a pure shift, a shift that tries to get back to its essence. That's a noble challenge. And it seemed like he did live for that. So again, people might write in and say, "Let me tell you what he's really like."
Let me tell you about the Pope. I'll tell you about the Pope.
I don't know. I really don't. But from what I saw, it seemed that he was, and from the way that he spoke, and I think sometimes to speak on that level requires some realization or to try to act in that way. I appreciated him, and I really. I just want to share that, and I want to wish him the best.
All right. Where do you think he went?
I don't know. I don't know. Think he went to heaven? Think he went to Jesus?
He went to Jesus. Okay.
I don't know.
All right. On that note, let's dive into the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Okay.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasatim vyasam tato jayam diriyat. Before we start in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavat yutama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated. And loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuramilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 10, Text 17. Have you not read any of this since I was
well, we've done Q&As when you were away, Ron. I wanted to keep the Ramayana section for you.
Oh.
But hey, I noticed something here on the thing. Nityananda Chandra shared that in South America, apparently the Pope, probably before he was Pope, I'm sure it was before he was Pope, but he had visited one of the temples in South America and read some Srimad Bhagavatam with the devotees there.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
Read the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think we're
anyway.
What?
That should be Gabe Bhagavatam class. The Pope's here. We should at least let him give Bhagavatam class.
Let him give class.
There's like a whole debate in the temple. Should we let the Pope? Should we not let the Pope? He's not initiated. Who cares? He's the Pope. Let him read.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So we're hearing an abbreviated presentation of the Ramayana within the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
And now we're hearing about how I think we left off is that Hanuman was burning down Lanka.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I think text 17 is where we pick up today.
After entering Lanka, the monkey soldiers, led by the chiefs like Sugriva, Nila, and Hanuman, occupied all the sporting houses, granaries, treasuries, palace doorways, city gates, assembly houses, palace frontages, and even the resting houses of the pigeons. What? When the city's crossroads, platforms, flags, and golden water pots on its domes were all destroyed, the entire city of Lanka appeared like a river disturbed by a herd of elephants. So Ravana had the ability to give Sita back. Everything would have been peaceful. Ram would have forgiven.
That option was presented to him.
The option was presented to him by Hanuman. And he was just so
Insulted.
fury. How dare you? Who do you think
Indignant.
you are coming to my palace? You monkey, you low-born monkey. And he wanted to kill Hanuman, and his ministers were like, well, you can't kill the messenger. It's inappropriate to kill the messenger. It's part of our dharmic codes as demons. Even the demons had dharmic codes. So what they did was they thought, well, what do monkeys like more than anything? They asked the ministers. Bananas, no, they like their tail. So they said, tie him up and burn his tail. But Hanuman had this
beautiful
this benediction from Agni Dev to not be burned. So he allowed himself to be, or not hurt by fire. So he allowed his tail to be burnt. And then
it was just like a torch he was carrying.
Yeah, it was like a torch. They wrapped it up with cloth and ghee, and it should have.
I believe Sita also prayed that his tail would feel like a cooling kind of feeling, right?
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
but maybe. And then anyway, he quickly released himself from those ropes, and they said, "Okay, you don't want to release Lady Sita? I will just destroy your city." But you can imagine, I'm coming back with an army of monkeys.
I'm just one monkey.
And that put everybody on Ravana's team in total anxiety. Like, look, one monkey did all this damage.
Yeah. An army
is crossing right now with Ram and Lakshmana. Like, and then they were all like, what are we going to do? And it sort of like split up the ministers, the counselors of Ravana. And eventually his loyal brother, Vibhishan, just said, you know what? I think you got to surrender to Ram's desires and give back Sita.
Just do it.
And he said, "Go! How dare you say that? You're lucky I don't kill you." He kicked out Vibhishan, and Vibhishan went to surrender to Ram.
Sometimes when we don't want to hear the truth, we kick out the truth speaker, even if they're meaning well.
Yeah.
I remember once, Radha Swami was being interviewed by. He's a famous guy. I forget his name now. I can't remember his name. Maybe you can remember. He's like a television guy or something like that. And I think, anyway, he had some kind of radio talk show kind of thing at some point. I think he was a comedian originally. I forget. But the person said something like, they started talking about Ramayana, and then the subject turned to Hanuman. And he said, well, I know that like Hanuman has a very beautiful tail, and but he meant like tail like a story.
Oh.
and then Radha Swami said like, yes, he did have a very beautiful tail. And from Radha Swami meant his actual tail.
It was very, very beautiful. His hands were also very beautiful.
I think it went over the head of the interviewer. When he said, oh, yes, he has a very beautiful tail. He kind of smiled when he said it.
I bet he gets pious credit for glorifying Hanuman's bodily features.
Okay, so now Hanuman's burning down the city, and next step, text 18.
When Ravana, the master of the Rakshasas, saw the disturbance created by the monkey soldiers, he called for Nikumba, Kumbha, right? Those are the sons.
He's got his army
of his nephews, the sons of his brother, right? Nikumba and Kumbha.
Okay.
Oh no, Nikumba. Anyway.
Well, does Kumbhakarna? I don't know if Kumbha.
Yeah, I think his sons were Nikumba and Kumbha.
Okay,
correct me. Dumraksha, Durmukha, Sarantaka, Narantaka.
Durmukha. It sounds like it means bad face. It's like right.
Durmukha. Yeah, it means like an evil face. Maybe he's got a scary face.
Yeah.
He's a Rakshasa. He probably's got a scary face.
Yeah, I bet.
Narantaka and other Rakshasas, and also his own son, Indrajit. And he's a bad guy. He's like a master of black magic, powerful warrior. Thereafter, he called for Prahasta, Atikaya, Vikampana, and finally his brother. Okay, yeah. So this is his brother, Kumbhakarna.
Who's just like completely ferocious, right? Just like
Ferocious giant
powerful.
Rakshasa performed tapas for so long. And of course, Kumbhakarna and Ravana are the incarnation of giant Vijay, who came to Earth to really challenge the Lord and
Give
get
him a good fight.
defeated and become liberated. Yeah, challenge the Lord. That was part of their spiritual task.
This is all Leela. This is part of what's happening here is just as this is the Lord's play.
Isn't it interesting? You never know who you're face to face with. Here you are, Kumbhakarna, apparently the most evil person in the universe.
He was a guard.
He's a guard of Vaikuntha. He's actually not a bad guy. He was playing that role. That's why judgment is so horrible to do, because you never know what people have to do in this world. They almost have to go through their life.
But what we do know is that whatever they're doing and whatever their motive and whatever their, the arc of their story is, that underneath it all is that pure soul.
Yeah. And they're representing a dharma in this lifetime, so that they're fighting against them. All the monkeys are fighting against them.
Okay.
Then he induced all of his followers to fight against the enemies.
Okay.
Lord Ram, surrounded by Lakshman and monkey soldiers like Sugriva, Hanuman, Gandamada, Nila, Angada, yeah. Jambavan and Panas attacked the soldiers of the Rakshasas, who were fully equipped with various invincible weapons like swords, lances, bows, prashas, ristis.
What's that?
Types of old weapons.
Shakti arrows.
Kadagas. Every army's got their own interesting type of weapons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Ever see those?
Always trying to develop something new.
Ever see those South Indian whips that are like whips made of blades?
Oh.
They use them in these South Indian martial arts.
Got to know how to use that kind of weapon. Otherwise, it can just come right back at you.
Any weapon.
Raghunath is
even a handgun. You can know how to use that thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What to speak of? Yeah. Every type of knife, there's a different way to fight with those, Angada and the other commanders of the soldiers of Ramachandra faced the elephants, infantry, horses, and chariots of the enemy and hurled against them big trees, mountain peaks, clubs, and arrows. Thus, the soldiers of Lord Ramachandra killed Ravana's soldiers, who had lost all good fortune because Ravana had been condemned by the anger of his mother Sita.
Okay, so that's a little foreshadowing what's going to happen, right? They've lost all good fortune. And and this is interesting, right? Because even perhaps the way it's expressed here in Sanskrit, maybe it's there, but when you think of Sita, she is, like Lakshmi, is just a further expansion down, right? But like the goddess of good fortune, right? Lakshmi is a personification of good fortune. And in other words, good fortune is there for us, available for us, right? If you relate to good fortune
with this, I like where you're going with this.
Okay, all right.
If I was thinking deeply.
Yeah, she is the energy of Lord Ram. She is the female potency of God that manifests as good fortune.
She's the divine feminine.
Everything auspicious about life can be found in her, and you can be blessed with that if you approach her.
Sure.
In the right mood.
Just be like we call money Lakshmi.
Yeah.
And when we use money for good things, like to serve God, to serve the Vaishnavas, it'll bring auspiciousness. It's an auspicious thing.
Yeah.
If you take money, you can use money for such horrible things. I mean, we can all think of one thing in our mind, horrible things. Don't put it on the message board.
Okay.
You can use money for horrible things, and it makes that same money inauspicious. And it creates inauspiciousness. Your choices create auspiciousness or inauspiciousness. Right. So here he is taking Mother Lakshmi, Sita Devi, Mother Sita, Lady Sita,
with such selfish purpose, right?
Yeah.
Just all the. Of course, the contrast is drawn in the Ramayana between how Ravana approaches the goddess of fortune and how
Hanumanji.
Hanuman approached it, yeah, Hanuman. Whereas one was taking for his selfish purposes, and the other was returning that energy back, right? When we see the material good fortune that we receive in life and we don't think, how can I exploit it? It's mine. It belongs to me. I don't even see who it came from or who it belongs to or whose energy it is. I see it only within the context of that is for my enjoyment. Then that brings in auspiciousness. Whereas if you're like, this is all God's energy, I'm also God's energy. Let me return this energy, make an offering of it back with love in my heart. That love itself is the greatest blessing, right? The greatest fortune. And so it is so clearly kind of laid out. Why don't you read the commentary? I think Prabhupada may get into it here. I'm just glancing at it now.
Of 20?
Yeah, 20.
The soldiers of Lord Ramachandra, recruited in the jungle, were all monkeys and did not have proper equipment with which to fight the soldiers of Ravana. For Ravana's soldiers were equipped with weapons of modern warfare, whereas the monkeys could only throw stones, mountain peaks, and the trees.
Still, you got a mountain peak flying at you.
Yeah, I mean, ever get hit with a stone? Thrown by a monkey?
Oh, a mountain peak is a whole other thing.
It was only Lord Ramachandra and Lakshman who shot some arrows.
Right.
But because the soldiers of Ravana were condemned by the curse of Mother Sita, the monkeys were able to kill them simply by throwing stones and trees.
I mean, when you think about this in terms of Krishna's Leela, the creativity, the heart of Krishna, I'm going to come. I'm going to come in the form of a warrior. I'm going to have my brother warrior there. I'm going to fight to win the girl back. And I'm going to do it with an army of monkeys. It's just like, this is how God plays. It's beautiful.
Now, Sita had a curse on Ravana. Ravana couldn't rape her or touch her.
Right. Yeah.
Unless she acquiesced
right.
on her own accord.
So he was he was waiting that out, or he was going to kill her. Right?
He was waiting around. He said he was going to eat her body.
Right.
He was a psycho. And he was a psycho. Played the role of a psycho. He was a pure devotee, I think, in the spiritual world, but he played the role of a psychopath. I mean, once you say you're going to eat someone's body if they don't give into your sexual demands,
when you're a Rakshasa, that's what you do.
Yeah. But because in her previous life, who was she? Vegavati? She was approached by Ravana in the mountains. She was sitting she was a tapasvi, sitting there wanting the Lord for her husband. And Ravana approached her and said, "You are mine. Come with me. Who is this Lord Vishnu you're praying to? I am Ravana. I'm the king of Lanka. Come with me." And because he approached her like that, she cursed him. She cursed him that whoever you touch a woman's body, and any women's body that you touch like that, it'll be the destruction of your entire dynasty.
So he was able to attract so many women with his power,
Charm, wealth, power,
handsomeness, whatever. But Sita wasn't going for it.
Sita wasn't going for it. He was cursed that he was going to lose everything, his very life. Okay. And so this Vegavati, her body turned to ashes, and she was going to be born again as Sita.
Wow. Okay, now let's continue. I think it's getting to the point here now. There are two kinds of strength.
All right, there's two kinds of strength, the Daiva and the Purushakara. Daiva refers to the strength achieved from the transcendence, and Purushakara refers to the strength organized by one's own intelligence and power. Transcendental power is always superior to the power of the materialist. Depending on the mercy of the Supreme Lord, one must fight one's enemies, even though one may not be equipped with modern weapons. Therefore, Krishna instructed Arjuna, Mam Anusmara Yudhyacha. Think of me and fight. We should fight our enemy to the best of our ability, but for victory, we must depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Nice. Okay, so Ravana brought inauspiciousness into his life by the way that he related to... There he was in the forest, right? And he sees Sita. What a blessing. We devotees, around the universe are praying for that opportunity. Right?
May I have the vision? Please give me the vision of Mother Sita.
I could fall at her feet and beg for her grace. And in her soft heartedness, she would be inclined to, if I approach her with with humility, that I would be blessed in such a special way. He saw that Sita. He had that vision. But his approach was characterized by his own selfishness and lust.
It'd be very interesting to see what everyone would write on the message board. What is the most horrible thing you've done with your money?
No, Raghunath, don't go there. You just told people not to do that. Now,
No,
you're
it'd
becoming
be interesting. All right, what is the most blessed thing you've done with your money?
Okay.
Let's change it up. Thereafter, when Ravana, the king of the Rakshasas, observed that his soldiers had been lost, he was extremely angry. Thus, he mounted his airplane, which was decorated with flowers, and proceeded towards Lord Ramachandra, who sat on the effulgent chariot brought by Matali, the chariot driver of Indra. Then Ravana struck Lord Ramachandra with sharp arrows.
All right, so he's kind of all in at this point, even though his army's being wiped out. He's like,
Sure.
okay, I'll do it myself, right?
It took a while. His army took a while to go down.
Mm-hmm. How long?
I mean, it wasn't right away that Ravana joined the fight. He had his
How long
brother
did it
go.
take?
He had his son fight. He had, like, the powerful warriors went down.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I don't know if it's in this, but, Lakshman goes down. That's where Hanuman brings back the herbs from the Himalayas.
Yeah.
Lakshman goes down, and then he gets back up magically with the, what's the herb called?
Herb? I forget. Something Jenny?
Jeevani. Someone knows on the message board. Put it on the board, please. Okay. Sanjeevani, thank you.
Print media right there.
Lord Ramachandra said to Ravana, "You are the most abominable of the man-eaters. Indeed, you are like their stool." You're the stool.
Face.
That's a put down. You're the stool of the man-eaters. You resemble a dog, for as a dog steals eatables from the kitchen in the absence of the householder, in my absence, you kidnap my wife Sita.
That's the example that you use all the time, Raghunath, right? If I came over to Kaustubha's place and I just took it over and I took the food out of his thing and, and I didn't even recognize it, right? Like you usually use that as an analogy.
Yeah. Or like a seagull. Ever see pictures of people like they're eating a slice of pizza or something, a seagull just takes it out of their hand. Or a dog comes over or takes something right off the grill, or jumps on the coffee table and eats the food right off the coffee table. Yes. Therefore, as Yamaraj punishes sinful men, I shall punish you, Ravana. You are the most abominable, sinful, and shameless. Today, therefore, I, whose attempt never fails, shall punish you.
Wow.
It's like an action movie. It's an action movie to attract our lame minds who just need, in Kali Yuga, we don't want spiritual philosophy and holy prayers. We want an action movie. We want a thriller. And for our mercy, acted, so we can sit on the edge of our seat and go, get him, good guy. Annihilate the demons, and we glorify Ram. In the same way we watch an action movie on the plane or wherever, and we're rooting for the good guy to win.
Yeah, Krishna comes and displays. That's part of what he does as a Leela avatar, right? Is he displays his Leela.
And we fall in love with the hero.
Yeah, then we become attracted.
That's why these movies nowadays where like the murderous person like gets away and we don't know what happens till the sequel. Halloween 2, he's back. He's back. Can we kill him once and for all and live happily ever after?
I was in the park yesterday. One thing I saw, Raghunath, was I saw a wild turkey in Central Park yesterday.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I did a little research. It's been going all around the city. Its name is Astoria. And it's looking for a mate and it's having trouble. But I saw Astoria in the park. That was something. But I also saw a kid playing with an adult. And the kid had like, a toy kind of like battle axe in one hand and some other kind of weapon in the other hand.
Yeah.
Like fighting with both of them.
Yeah.
And the parent had like, I think like a long sword or something.
Yeah.
And you could just see the kid, wanting to fight, like, swing those weapons and defend himself and be a hero and all of that. You see it, it's there inside. It's play, you know?
Yeah.
And here it's saying that here's the origin of that playful nature. And part of, and for boys especially, right? Play has a lot to do with fighting, in exerting your full energy in a noble effort, overcoming a hostile, evil opponent.
I taught my
It's
daughter how to fight. She likes to fight too.
boy,
But
girls
yeah,
sometimes
there
they gotta fight
definitely is. There's definitely. I've had boys and
more.
girls, and the boys definitely get a little bit more aggro. Like my daughter doesn't like to fight me
I
anymore.
want,
My son is always trying to like pull. I'm the new alpha in town.
I
And
once saw, this was probably like 15 years ago, or
yeah,
maybe 12 years ago, or something like that. We were up at Pumpkin Hollow, that retreat center we used to go to sometimes,
yeah,
and Rocco was fighting Asachi,
oh yeah.
and he even had her like down, and he had her face in the ground, and he was like rubbing her face in the ground, And I was like, am
These
I
are my
supposed to
children.
step in now? Like, is this just what they do? And then she came out of it, and she was smiling and happy and fighting away herself. So she was cool with it. But yeah, that's in us, that nature to fight. And where does it come from? Here it is. Krishna's playing it out and displaying it in a wonderful way, in an incredibly power. What this must have looked like, cinematically, was just like
Mm.
incredibly fascinating and beautiful. But it captures our heart, and the Ramayana has captured the hearts of people, from children to people, on their deathbeds. People have been, their hearts, their minds have been captured by it, their intellects have been captured by it, their artistic natures are captured by it. It's
Of
full
course
and rich.
from childhood, when you hear these stories from childhood, it's like the hero. Ram's the hero,
Yeah,
where Krishna in the Mahabharata is the hero, and so you're very very interested to be more and more intrigued by these personalities, and because they're avatars or God themselves, that's one way we approach God, and that's the way we pray as Christians to God as well. We just say, "Oh God, you're the most powerful. Please protect me. Please, I'm sick. Can you heal me?" And in a very fundamental way, we see God as a protector. So a child grows up hearing these stories and thinks
sure.
of God in dangerous situations or to fulfill their material desires, even. And then eventually we purify ourselves of those as well, and we still are approaching God in a more intimate way.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's how it all starts. And so there
Okay.
there's hero journeys.
Hero's Journeys, that's where we were last time you were on it, right?
Yeah. All right.
After thus rebuking. Text 23.
Text 20. Next text. Okay. Text 23. After thus rebuking Ravana, Lord Ramachandra fixed an arrow to his bow, aimed at Ravana, and released the arrow which pierced Ravana's heart.
You know
A
how
thunderbolt.
Radha Swami always does that? He has a way of making that arrow sound with the microphone. He does something. It's like, I don't know how he does it.
Yeah. You got to get God in your heart to kill the demon. We got some demons in our hearts. We need Ram's arrow to go through. Try to cut off the 10 heads of Ravana. Every time they cut them off, a new head would pop up. And they said that the 10 heads represented the things that we're trying to kill individually. I'm trying to kill my lust. I'm trying to kill my arrogance. I'm trying to kill my illusion. I'm trying to kill my envy. And when we go against them separately, like, how can I be not filled with ego and arrogance and lust? It's always a personal struggle. But when we accept that, no, you got to go right to the heart. We want Ram to enter the heart. And then when we get Ram, or Krishna, in our case, Krishna Bhaktas, in our heart, lust naturally goes away. Envy naturally goes away. If we approach the roots of the trees, all the leaves will be fulfilled. If we want to get rid of our deep-rooted problems, we have to go to God.
Yeah, well, as he
God
said.
lifts us. That's a 12-step program right there.
Okay.
It's not just like cold turkeying our bad habits. You don't have to. Krishna will lift them for us.
He says in the last verse, right? Therefore I, whose attempt never fails shall punish you, right?
Mm-hmm.
All
Shoot that poison arrow.
All right, keep going here, Raghunath.
ABC.
Upon seeing this,
Ravana's followers raised a tumultuous sound, crying, "Alas! Alas! What has happened? What has happened?" As Ravana, vomiting blood from his 10 mouths, fell from his airplane, just as a pious man falls to earth from the heavenly planets when the results of his pious activities are exhausted.
Okay, here it is, right? This is material life. They were living opulently under the, the rule of Ravana, right? Their material situation seemed prosperous. It seemed stable, right? And now they're watching Ravana go down. Eventually he's going to go down. And here we go. All the anxiety starts to set in, right?
Well, imagine if you're on the bad guys' team and your
yeah.
king has been killed. Like,
that's what I mean.
Everybody's losing it. Like, what's going to happen to us? Imagine being invaded.
Well, they're being invaded, right? Yeah.
But like you actually defeat.
Yeah. The nugget that we were going to use today, we found out this morning that the Pope had passed away, but we were going to bring in something from Martin Luther King. You remember that, Raghunath?
Yeah. What was it again?
It's a really famous quote from Martin Luther King. And it kind of gives hope when it seems like we're being ruled by tyrants, But he said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice, right?
Yeah.
It's one of his most iconic phrases. But he was actually paraphrasing a 19th century Unitarian minister, an abolitionist named Theodore Parker, who wrote in his sermon in 1853, he wrote, "I do not pretend to understand the moral universe." Right? I do not pretend to understand the moral universe, how morality operates in the universe, right? Sometimes it seems like there is no morality operating in the universe.
Right.
The bad guys are in charge, So he says, "I do not pretend to understand the moral universe." And since he was an abolitionist, this was likely spoken about in the context of slavery. I'm not sure. But he said, "I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one." Right? Seems like it's forever until justice comes.
Right.
But from what I see, I'm sure it bends towards justice. And so that's, it's a fact that, where's God? What are you doing? Why aren't you correcting this? Right? Why aren't you doing on the time scale that I'm relating on,
Right. I'm praying for it now. What are you even hearing that prayer?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sick. Heal me now. I think Christ, the big story of Christ is he's dying on the cross and he's praying for the people that are killing him. So I think if that is if that's the overall theme of your spiritual path, then I think a deep spiritualist like Martin Luther King, it may come up like, the justice curve, it may not be visible or it may not even be understandable, but here is our hero and look how he's handling it. He's not praying for riches. He's not praying for good health. He's not praying for abundance. That's a big one. He's not doing the abundance, mantras. He's praying for connection. And that was the lesson that was distilled to Martin Luther King. There was and there's a faith and justice will be done, and that's not in my hands.
I do my part, right?
Yeah.
Because to the average eye, it seems like evil is flourishing, and it seems like power shields the wrongdoer. That people lie and cheat and they exploit and they're just cruel and they rise.
And they win. Why?
They appear to win. Yeah.
That's why I really feel like this Vedic idea of the eternality of the soul, it gives some comfort to
Zoom
that.
out.
Like there is justice.
Yeah.
It may not be visible in this lifetime.
Yeah.
In the same way, suppose we see someone very wealthy, we don't see their backstory, how they got there. We don't see. We just say, "Oh, look at his life. It's so easy. He's a basketball star." You don't see the work he put in to become that basketball star, or a swimming star or something like that, or the work it took to have that wealth or drive that car. So sometimes we don't even see it in this lifetime. We just see people as they are. We don't know their backstory. Or sometimes we see people are very cruel and we don't understand, like they were suffering abuse or they were traumatized as children. So we don't see it in this lifetime. What to zoom out and see lifetimes of trauma perhaps people have been through, and they get this body, or lifetimes of good pious works as well. And they have such good fortune.
Right. So the vision that's offered to us, or the vision that we're encouraged to try to see through texts like Bhagavad Gita, et cetera, is that we don't see justice in terms of like immediate consequences, but that it plays out over, as Martin Luther King said, a long arc. And that long arc, it can span even lifetimes. But we know that it's there. We know that there is, like a cosmic force, of justice that's there. And we might be able to play a role in being part of that. We may not. It may happen immediately. It may take patience, but there's a certain stability that one feels when they have that faith.
Cosmic force of justice. Write that down. Use it for something.
All right.
Anyway, someone sent me this mug. Who was it? It's fill me up with love. And it's got a picture of Lord Chaitanya. One of you guys sent me out there. Thank you. You know who did that? Anyway, thank you. Okay.
A few more verses, or do you want to stop here?
755. I don't know. These.
Why don't we go ahead and read to the death of I think it's just a few more verses and Robin's going to die.
All right. Thereafter, all the women whose husbands had fallen in the battle, headed by Mandodari, that's the wife of Ravana, came out of Lanka, continuously crying. They approached the dead bodies of Ravana and the other Rakshasas.
In other words, the world is falling apart, apparently, right? What they thought was stable, in the end it wasn't.
Oh, the material world is so damn unstable, isn't it? The biggest realizations on this entire tour. It's almost shocking.
One day you have a computer, the next day you don't.
And one day you're a teenager, and one day you have a big white beard. That I think that was it. I think I saw so many people that were like 30 years ago, I bought your record, stuff like that. Like 30 years ago. That means that that's a whole different lifetime.
You wrote a record or something called When 20 Summers Pass, right?
Yeah, when we wrote that record, it was like, in 20 years from now, somewhere way off in the distant, crazy
it'll almost
future,
never come,
where people will
so
be
far away.
People will be flying around on brooms or little personal spaceships. 20 summers from now, 20 summers from now, and that passed.
Now it's 30.
20 summers has passed. It's been like 27 summers since then. I was just like, oh, I'm already, there's a time in your life in your 30s or 25 when you think, I'm not going to die now, maybe in my 60s. Like the Beatles wrote that song, When I'm 64. And it's one of those things, it's so far in the future. And now it's now. And every time I see some old guy walking in the street, and then I start to think, I go, like, wait a second, I'm probably older than that old guy. I am probably older than that old guy. And it is really a crazy wake-up call. And there's no amount of, intermittent fasting or like working with weights or cardiovascular or longevity diets or herbal herbs that I can take.
You sound like you've been researching it.
Death. Huh?
You sound like you've been researching all the possibilities.
Well, I'm trying to like have at least just not let my body go to pieces.
Yeah.
But and at least as you get old, because as you get older, I'm just realizing I can't do the things I used to do anymore. The traveling, it was just so intense on my body. And I just don't. I used to just shake it off and go out for pizza.
That's why you left the computers behind, because you're just like tired.
I can't carry this damn thing anymore. Keep it, Belgium Airport.
Not tired like that. I just mean you weren't as attentive because you're tired.
Yeah, Mary looked at me, and I was just like, after the show, and just like see me just like backstage on the couch, just like almost like buzzing. But anyway, it's one of these things that's it's reality. It's a reality check.
It's real.
Reality check. It's real.
The struggle is
And
real.
it's beautiful. And it's beautiful and it's horrible. And that's life. And thank God for Krishna.
There you go. Hey, by the way, I got one announcement we forgot to mention. I'm doing a little thing. I think you got to bring back a little Sweet Baby Krishna for the Sage Community Platform people whenever you're ready. But this Wednesday, you know, people, I got a lot of response. There was one day where you weren't here, Raghunath. It was a long time ago. And I did a show which was more just like a presentation. Mara was there. And it was that kind of thing, like the question was sent into us, can Advaita Vedanta and Bhakti Vedanta both be correct? Remember that?
Yeah.
And so a lot of people wanted to follow up on that or had questions about that. So I said, okay, this Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. for Sage Community Platform members, we'll revisit that. I'll give a summary of what I presented, and we'll take questions. So Sage Community Platform members, I think we've already put it up there. You can see, and a link is there to join it. That's at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday night.
Nice.
All right.
All right. Well, we're back in the flow. We can do Sweet Baby Krishna. I love Sweet Baby Krishna.
Yeah.
Get it going.
All right. You ready for some takeaways?
Yeah.
Stay humble, even if you're high on the spiritual totem pole.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even if you're high,
Even if you're
spiritual totem
high.
pole.
Usher in tolerance and compassion, not judgment.
Come on in, tolerance, compassion. We have a seat
Sure.
for you right here in my heart, right?
Lead with service and humility.
There you go.
The divine feminine is good fortune. Approach her with the right mood.
There you go.
All right. Hello, my dear. Please.
Return God's energy as a loving offering.
Giving it back.
Take it back, please.
We need Ram in our heart to kill our demons.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's best at it.
Have faith in the cosmic force of justice.
There you go.
Yeah.
Kaustubha's
Cosmic force of justice.
his new band.
Justice will be done. Pray for divine connection.
Kaustubha's
Okay.
new hip hop.
Think
Urban
so?
hip hop.
Urban
Approach.
hip hop. As
They
opposed
were calling
to
you.
rural hip hop.
Sammy was calling you Kaustubha Diver on the tour.
Yeah.
How's Kaustubha Diver doing?
Like scuba.
Yeah. Kaustubha.
Approach Sita like Hanuman, not Ravana.
There you go.
There you go.
The long arc of justice may span lifetimes.
The
Mhm.
long arc of justice.
And no amount of longevity herbs will prevent death.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, that was good. I thought you were going to do that other one on the message board.
Oh.
See, that's what I was pointing to. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Find that and read it, please, Mara.
Don't use your money for horrible things. Use your money for horrible things.
I thought that was good. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks for all the people who are keeping this ship floating. Sage community members, thank you very much. It's a community-supported podcast. Thanks for everybody contributing anything. Your monthly donations really, really appreciated. Back again tomorrow, 7 a.m.
Yeah, I think we're going to become a little bit more regular now, hopefully, right?
Feels good. Feels good. And look, and David Charles Wilson is here. Thanks, everybody, for joining us live. You can join live, too, if you want. Email Miss Mara, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com.
Or go to the Sage Community Platform.
Or go to the Sage Community Platform, wisdomofthesages.com.